In this video, I'm going to be discussing Airbnb rental arbitrage secrets. Hey guys, this is Jim G, or Coach Jim, as many of my students like to call me. And I just want to welcome you to this training video that I created for everyone that is really looking for a roadmap to create a lucrative Airbnb business without owning properties. So that's me on the screen, and the Forbes article that it's referring to talks about how the top 1% of earners of all Airbnb hosts in the world make the kind of money that I make with Airbnb. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you how I do that. I'm going to take you live into one of my portfolios and show you the properties, show you the income, show you the cash flow and how it comes in, which is so different from just normal traditional rentals where you get your money on a monthly basis. Beauty about Airbnb is that the money comes in daily and they deposit it right into your account every day. It's wonderful. And I'm then going to show you what you're here for, and that is how you can do it too, right? Simple, real simple steps. And so for me, one of the things you're gonna learn, if you don't already know me, if you haven't already done some training with me, is that I keep things very simple. In fact, it's so simple, the stuff that I do, a lot of times, if you come with a lot of experience, it creates a little bit of a problem in some instances, because it's hard for you to gather how something so simple could generate the type of money that you're going to see today. So let me tell you what I'm not doing. What I'm not doing is I'm not sharing with you a bunch of information that I read out of a book. What I'm not doing is I'm not sharing with you a bunch of information that I saw on YouTube. And what I'm not doing is I'm not sharing with you something where I'm trying to actually sell you something today. All I'm trying to do is just share with you what I've been blessed with. And just to give you a little bit of background about myself, I am a real estate investor full time. I've been investing in real estate for 30 years. I've done over 700 profitable, successful transactions for myself. I used to carry well over 300 units in my portfolio. And me and my team, at one point, we were doing 50 to 100 transactions a year, flip transactions a year for myself. And so today, it looks a little bit different. I keep my portfolio to under 100 properties. I don't have a team of 50 people working for me anymore. In fact, my team is I can count them on one hand. And my investments, the way I make my money is through real estate. I have multiple portfolios, commercial. I have traditional residential. I have Airbnb portfolios, and I have my homeless ministry, which I started 6 years ago. That leads me into a little bit of a story, and then I'm going to get on with it for you, okay? But the story is basically that the whole purpose of doing real estate is so that I could have a vehicle that really supports my passions, right? And so as I'm sharing this with you, that's what real estate is supposed to be for, right? It's not supposed to be so that you could be working, so that I could be working 40, 50, 60 hours a week just trying to make more money. No, it's not that at all. It's so that you can build your portfolio and allow your portfolio, the cash flow, to support the things you're passionate about. So like I mentioned, one of the things I'm passionate about is a few things. One is, I started the homeless ministry 6 years ago where we help, men and women in my area, Rochester, New York, with housing. I feed them, I clothe them, I mentor them, I employ them temporarily, put some money in their pocket, and more importantly, I share the gospel with them and let them know that they're important. And as you just give them a little hand, they just realize that that that's all they needed, right? And then they're back up on their feet in many cases, right? And so that's one thing. So helping people is something that I'm passionate about. The other thing that I'm passionate about is I enjoy spending time with my wife, right, and my kids. That's what I'm really passionate about. That. So we like to travel, we like to do different things, and real estate supports my ability to do that. So and then the next thing is, again, helping people. That's one of the reasons why I'm doing this, right? I'm not making any money from doing this. I don't need to. That's the beauty of it. I don't really need to. And when I get into my live screen and just show you this portion of my Airbnb portfolio, you'll see what I mean, right? And that's just one piece of the puzzle. But I do this because when I got started, when I got started in real estate 30 years ago, I didn't have anyone to help me out like this, right? And so I had to kind of stumble, bumble, and fumble through it all. I did order some tapes and some booklets from an infomercial, Carlton Sheets, back in the day, how to buy real estate, no money down, right? And that's what I did. I studied that. I studied it, but I didn't have anyone that could guide me, that would handhold me through it. And so, and when I started Airbnb just 16, 18, 19 months ago, I didn't have anyone to handhold me through that either. But thankfully, I knew real estate like the back of my hand. Like that, there's no learning curve when it comes to real estate. But the Airbnb model was new. And so I had to kind of figure that out. The beauty of it is we went from 0 units to 21 listings in 9 months. And doing that in 9 months is crazy, right? I mean, I was working back in September of 2018. I was working 40, 50 hours a week trying to contain that thing. And I said, we got to put the brakes on it. When I say we, I was mentoring my oldest daughter who graduated from college a few years ago. And so what I did was I was mentoring her, training her in real estate so she can understand that if she ever wanted to go to work or started working for someone in the future, it wasn't because she had to, it was because she wanted to. So, I showed her how to do rehab flips. I showed her how to manage my commercial portfolio, my residential portfolio, working with construction crews and that kind of stuff. And then, she did very well. And then I said, well, you know what? I'm hearing a lot about this Airbnb thing. Let's see what that's all about, and we'll just learn together. And so that's what we did. I did my first one, and when I started my first one, what I did was, I kind of cheated. I converted one of my units, one of my properties over just to test and see how it worked, and the test went well. And then we started ramping up with the strategies I'm going to show you today. Simple strategies, not owning properties. And we went to 21 listings in 9 months. So I said, put the brakes on. I'm not doing this like this, right? I'm not doing, yeah, we want to make money. We want to be profitable, but I'm not selling my soul. Like I said, there's some things that I'm passionate about, and I want to be able to do those things. And if I'm making all the money in the world, but yet I can't do those things, spend time with my wife, help people, share the gospel, do those kinds of things, travel, then what's the point? Teach my students. That's another thing. I really enjoy teaching my students, right? And so what's the point? So we put the brakes on, and now today I've gotten my Airbnb portfolio so efficient that I spend, here it is, 30 minutes a day. 30 minutes a day, that's it, on my Airbnb portfolio. And when I show you what it looks like, it's kind of going to blow your mind. So just sit back for a minute, relax, and let's get into it, okay? So here it is live. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. Where'd you go? That's not what we want. Okay. So, okay. What you see here is you're going to see that I have 27 listings, and here's the earnings of those 27 listings. As of today, which is August 8th, 2019, is showing that I've earned already $101,654 so far, and that out of that 101,654, 88,356 of that has been deposited into my bank account, and another 13,298 is on its way. And so let's take a look and see what that looks like also, okay? And so as of, let's see, so in May of 2019, it shows that I ended the month at $16,157. In June, I ended the month at $14,243. In July, I ended the month at $16,141. So what it's showing is that I fell off in June. I went from 16,000 in May to 14,000 in June. And the reason why was because in June, I was still working on this portfolio. I was still spending probably about 10 hours a week on this portfolio. And that was still too much for me. It was still too much. I mean, the summer's coming, there's some other things going on, and we're also looking to, and I was doing a lot more coaching. We were moving into doing a lot more coaching and training. So I said there's a few things I need to change so that we can make this thing even leaner and more efficient. So I had to take a little step back so I could take a leap forward, and so it cost me a little bit. It cost me a little bit because in May, again, we did 16,000. We ended in June. We ended at 14,000. But we're back on track because in July, I did another 16,000. In August, it is 8 days into August, and I am at 11,746. So, Lord willing, I anticipate that we should end the month here somewhere in the range of about 17, maybe between $17,000 and $18,000 for the month. And if we continue at the pace that we're at, then and we don't really fall too much. I mean, there's going to be some fluctuation up and down, but what I expect is that I should end the year roughly around $160,000 to $185,000 for the year. So that's what the expectation is. Now, let me show you something else. So what I'm showing you now is basically that when you are doing traditional rentals, you know that much of your cash flow, the way it works, it's monthly, right? And so you get paid at the first of the month when when the tenants are supposed to pay you, and that's when you get your money. So here, what it's showing is that of the $88,000 that I've been paid, this is how it's come to me so far. And I'm not going to go through all of it, obviously, just the last, some of the last payments. But today, which is the 8th, they deposited $219 into my account. And the day before yesterday, they deposited $294.88 into my account. The day before that, they deposited $2,060 into my account. The day before that, they deposited $1,127.64 into my account. The day before that, they deposited $3,199.07 into my account. And 2 days before that, they deposited $204.67 into my account. And then that's just how it is, 300, 400. So every day, money's going into my account, right? And that's how that looks. So, and the same thing with the 13,000 that's coming. So the 13,000 that's coming is being paid same way. 151, 273, 338. The money's just coming every day, and that's whether I am here in Rochester where I live, or whether I was traveling overseas, or just a week or so ago, my wife and I, we hopped on a plane and we headed over to Puerto Rico just to hang out for a week. And in fact, my youngest daughter, who's finishing up her senior year in college, she met us at JFK in New York City, and jumped on the plane and came over and hung out with us. And that's a blessing that your kids, when they get that old, they still want to hang out with you for a week. So that was sweet. But it didn't matter, because when I was over there, I didn't have any more or any less work to do. It was, I'm just on my cell phone monitoring a couple things again throughout the day. If I add it up, maybe it totals about 30 minutes, giving a little instruction in some instances, maybe a little guidance in others, or most cases, really just monitoring. I don't even have to do much of that anymore. So in any case, that's how it works for me. And so with 30 minutes a day, and you multiply that by 7, that is what? That's 3.5 hours a week. That's pretty much what I put in. 3.5 hours a week, and I'm generating roughly about $160,000 to $180,000 a year. So not too bad, and that's just one portfolio. That's just one of my portfolios. So, but now let me show you something. So of these 27 listings, let me show you what the properties look like when we pick them up, okay? And then I'm going to show you how we get them, okay? So here's one of the properties that I have. And this one, still preview. Yeah, sometimes it takes just a little bit of extra time to see these pictures. So here's the kitchen. And when I picked this property up, this is what it looked like. It was fully remodeled, new ceramic tile floors. There's actually 2 kitchens in this building. This is the smaller one. A ceramic tile floor, ceramic tile walls, new appliances. Those aren't mine. I didn't buy those. They were there when I got them. And this is the exterior of the house. And this is actually one of the beds that we have. Once we set it up, we staged it to take some pictures when we were setting up the listing. And then this is another picture of the kitchen. It's not a beautiful picture, but this just to give you an idea. And then we have the bathroom, which was also remodeled. Again, these aren't great pictures because when we put this property up, when we got it, we took pictures, and I wanted to put it up as quickly as possible so that it was on Airbnb. As you can see, it didn't even have shower curtains in here, but I never really went back and changed it because this is a listing that I couldn't keep vacant if I tried. But this was remodeled to tile floors, tile walls on the shower as well, and this is what the room looks like. One of our rooms looks like when we do get it up and running. We got the our dressers and our smart TVs and Wi-Fi, and then this is the upper deck, and we have the rear of the house with the upper deck, and we have parking. And then that's basically it. This property is near one of the our universities here in Rochester. In fact, the University of Rochester and Strong Hospital, which is one of the big hospitals here. This property generates for me $6,100 a year. I'm sorry, a month, and I picked it up for only $3,600. So let me say that again so that you make sure you didn't hear it wrong. This property generates for me $6,100 a month, and I picked it up for $3,600 in the condition that you just saw it in. I pay $1,800 a month, so I keep roughly about $4,000 in my pocket every month, which generates on an annual basis that's about $48,000. So when you do the math, I paid $3,600 for it. I keep about $48,000 in my pocket a year. That is over 1,000% return on investment for this property alone. Okay, let me show you another one. And I want to show you, this is what it looked like when we got it. This is one of my most recent properties that I picked up. And this is the kitchen. It's what it looked like when we first walked in. This is the kitchen. Same thing, appliances. This is one of the bedrooms. In fact, this bedroom is not even really the bedroom to this house. My beds are all the same, so that's why I put it in there. We were trying to get this one up real quick as well before we actually had beds in there, so that we can get it online and make sure people could start seeing it and booking it quickly. And then we got while we were waiting for the beds to come in. But this is one of my other properties on the other street, and so they're pretty similar. This property, this is what it looks like on the exterior. Small house, small cape with 3 bedrooms. The bathroom was remodeled as well with ceramic tile floors, ceramic tile walls, new vanity in that. This is another picture of the kitchen again, and this is the ceramic tile shower. This is one of the actual photos of the bedrooms. So you can see there wasn't a bed in there, but this is what all the bedrooms look like. And again, one of the staged pictures for the bed. And this is the kitchen again. This property itself generates for me about $3,000 a month. I picked it up for $1,950. So again, I'll say that it generates for me about $3,000 a month. I pay out $950. I'm sorry, $975 a month, which means I keep close to about $2,000 a month, and which is about $24,000 a year, and I only paid $1,950 for this. So again, that's over 1,000% return on investment. Okay, so you might wonder, you might be asking yourself, okay, how do you do that, right? How do we do that? I'm going to show you in a second. Of these 27 listings, only 7 of them I own. Okay, so 7 of these listings I own, and the other 20 I lease. Right? So does that start to make a little bit of sense? So let me show you real quick how I picked them up. And it's a simple method that I teach all my students, and it's a method that works from, it's always worked for me. Again, it's not something that I teach based on something I read in a book. I'm teaching it based on something that I do. This is how we built our portfolio and went from 0 to 21 listings in 9 months. Right? So here is how we do it. This is the template. And let me read it to you. It says, "Hello, my name is Jim. I'm a local businessman who owns 47 units in and around Rochester. My family and I have lived here for 23 years now. I provide temporary housing for many of my clients who come in from around the world to Rochester. Fortunately, most, if not all, my units have been regularly full, so I am buying and leasing more space to satisfy my growing need to accommodate my clients. Your place seems to fit my needs, and I'd like to take a peek today or tomorrow. Please call, text, or email to arrange a time to view. My number, thank you and blessings." And that's it. What we do is I take that template, and there's a number of different platforms that I show my students how to do, but I'm just going to tell you just one of them that's going to be the simplest. That's just, and going to get you results as soon as you send it out, literally. And what I call them are my 10-a-days. If you send this out 10 times, you look on Zillow, right? You take Zillow, and you find properties for rent, whether it be a home or apartment for rent, and you send this, you copy and paste this and send it to the landlord. That's it. It's as simple as that. You do this 10 times a day in the morning, and within hours you're going to start getting landlords saying to you, "Hey, I got your message. I'd really love to meet you. I think we could work together. And why don't you meet me at the place and we can discuss it. I can show you around and we can talk about it." That's how it's going to go. And when I say that's how it's going to go, trust me, my students experience it every time. Every time. It's fun to watch them when they first do it, because many of them, especially when they have experience, when they're seasoned investors, and it's time for them to do this, they're like, "Oh my gosh, what is this?" What? Many of them don't even do it for many of my students that pay me, as part of my course that I provide, which I'm not talking about here, but my course I provide in the mentoring and the coaching, it takes them in many cases like 2 or 3 days to finally say, "Okay, I'm just gonna do it." And then when they do it, they're texting me, calling me, "Hey Jim, I'm getting responses back," blowing my phone up and saying, "Okay, how do we respond?" Right? I mean, and they're seasoned, and they still don't know how to respond necessarily because they really weren't prepared for it. The other thing is, I don't really tell them a whole lot because my focus is to get you your first property in the first 14 to 21 days. So I'm not giving you a whole scope of everything you got to do from start to finish. It's step by step. First things first, let's get the property. That's it, right? And then once you get the property, then once you start setting up property showings and talking to landlords, then we're going to talk about how you do it. And so that's what I'm going to show you right now. So basically, what's going to happen is they're going to get back to you. They're going to say, "Yes, I'd love to meet you." And your whole purpose is not to go out to try and lock this property in. That's not it. Your purpose is to schedule the appointment and to go over and get to know that person that wants to work with you, right? It's about building rapport. It's about seeing if that's a person that you're going to want to do business with in the future, and to also let them know that, help them to see that you're definitely someone that they're going to want to do business with in the future. And so, and yeah, you're going to look at the property, right? But it's not going to be that much different than you saw online, right? And so that's the main purpose. And I'm gonna get to some reasons why in just a short moment. But for now, let me show you something else. Once you're done, what you're gonna do is you're gonna see you're gonna start having conversation. Whether when you leave there, you're gonna shake hands, whatever, and both of you are gonna decide if this is something you want to do in the future, right? If you want to get together and work together in the future, if he wants to rent to you, or if she wants to rent to you, or if you, as you're doing the additional analysis, you're gonna see if it really fits your profile, if it's gonna be profitable. And so, as you guys are speaking by phone, by text, then you start to get an idea if you're going to be moving forward. And what you're going to do is you're going to send them out this lease if you're going to start moving forward. You're going to, what I do is I just say, hey, give me your email address. I got something I'd like to send you that's going to make the process simple for you. And so they send me the email address. I don't tell them it's going to be a lease because, number one, I just like to surprise them with it. Number two, I don't want them to get, start feeling a little funny. But when they get it, they look at the lease and they go, wow, I like this. Many of the landlords that I deal with, I have a lot more experience than they do. However, I don't really, flaunt that because I don't want them to feel uncomfortable or feel intimidated working with me, right? And so, but I'll send out the lease, and many of them, when they look at it, they go, man, I like this. Yeah, we could use this, and would, in fact, is it okay if I use it for my other properties? And I tell them sure. And so, but the reason why I'm sending this to them, and the same thing with you, the reason why you would send this to them is because there's a couple of key pieces in here that you want to have in your lease, right? And I'm going to get to that in a second. But first, let's get back to this. I want you to notice something. Do you notice that in here, there's nothing that says anything about Airbnb? You notice that? Well, in fact, it actually does. It just doesn't spell it out. What it says is, I provide temporary housing for many of my clients who come in from around the world to Rochester. Isn't that Airbnb? That's what it does, right? So if someone knows Airbnb, when you send them this, they're going to say, oh, yeah, like Airbnb. Or when you're talking and you meet them, they're going to say the same thing. Oh, are you doing Airbnb? And if they do ask that, you're going to say, yes, exactly. That's one of the platforms I use is Airbnb. Not the only one, but that's one of the platforms I use. However, if they don't know about Airbnb, they're not going to mention it, and neither am I. Why? Because when you mention it, everybody knows Airbnb. Everybody knows about Airbnb. Some people have used it, but everybody knows something about Airbnb. And when it comes to landlords, many of them, again, are thinking about, about Airbnb one way, shape, or form, but they haven't done anything with it. And so when you mention that you're doing Airbnb, they're going to say, in many cases, oh man, Airbnb, yeah, I always wanted to know more about it. Can you tell me how it works? And personally, I'm not there to put on a crash course in Airbnb or an impromptu seminar in Airbnb. That's just not what we're there for. It's not efficient. It's not effective, right? And And or they may, if they've heard about Airbnb, many cases they have misconceptions about what it is. So if you mention it, they go, "Oh yeah, the Airbnb thing. I heard about that, and I've heard this, I've heard that." And then what you're gonna have to do is put on a crash course or an impromptu seminar on Airbnb to dispel the myths. Because if they knew about Airbnb, if they understood it, then this explanation as to what you're doing, they wouldn't have invited you out, right? So that's it. So that's why we don't mention it unless someone mentions it to us. But so now let me go back to what I was showing you before. When it comes to picking up properties, one of the things I teach my students, it's not about buying properties, right? Doing this is not always about buying properties, it's about acquiring properties. And let me give you a short illustration. I bought my first property back in 1990. So almost 30 years ago, 29 years ago. And I bought it with rent to own. Seller finance with $500 down, just like Carlton Sheets taught me, $500 down, and low monthly payments, good, decent monthly payments for me. And that's what I did. So I used creative real estate to get my first property right out of college. In fact, there's a story behind that, which, I was kind of put in a situation where I needed to do something different because my mom called me one morning while I was away in college, and she told me that she was just diagnosed with a terminal illness that really no one knew much about, but that most people that got it, they died within a couple years. And me being the oldest of 3 siblings, and now I'm 300 and something miles away from home at college, I was devastated, and from a single parent household, right? So I was devastated, and I needed to find out. I needed to figure something out and see what I could do to take care of my younger brother and sister in the event that my mom passed away. So that's why I ordered Carlton Sheets' course, because I saw the infomercial on TV. It seemed like something that for me would work. Not so that I can go out and start buying a bunch of real estate, at least initially when I thought about it. It was just so I can get my own place and I have a place for them to live. And that's how real estate started for me, right? But it's kind of strange because it took me 9 full years after I bought my first property like that to become financially independent with real estate. And it wasn't because I kept doing it. That's why it took 9 years, because I didn't keep doing it. I kind of had gotten to the mindset, the reason why, which is really why many of you guys haven't done anything yet, or you're not bigger. If you have, you're not bigger than you are. And that is because you're doing things the traditional way. The traditional way is, you go to the bank, you get a mortgage, you put a bunch of money down, you get a piece of property that's giving you maybe 10% returns, in some cities 6% returns. If you're lucky, if you're really lucky, 15-20% returns, then you're knocking it out of the park, right? Well, guess what? We're getting 1,000+% return on investment, right? And so my mindset was, okay, the only reason I did it like that when I first bought my first house, because I didn't have any money, I didn't have any credit, so this is the only way you could do it. And then once I was able to do that, then I was able to borrow money and go to the bank, and I had some money put away. Then I started doing it traditionally, and it took forever. And then so one day though, I was I rose through the ranks of corporate America during that 9 years as a bank vice president, and making good money, 6 figures, country clubs, finest restaurants, a portfolio of clients that were big time business owners, and so that's the job I had. It was my dream as it related to a job. But having a job really was never my dream. The only reason I went to work was because I wanted to own more real estate. I converted over to not just wanting to get my first property, but wanted to use real estate as my vehicle for financial independence. And so my first property, and I failed to mention, it took me a year to finally get my first one. Right after ordering the course and studying it, I was so young at the time, and I didn't really have any guidance or anything. It took me a year. I persevered and I got it. But 9 years to become financially independent. So 9 years later, the bank helped me to realize that, yeah, you might have a nice job and you may make us a lot of money, but we still control your destiny. And when that reality hit me, I looked myself in the mirror and I said, you know what? They're right. And that needs to change. And so I went back to my old strategies: creative real estate, buying properties with or acquiring properties with little to no money down, and getting great returns on investment. And I did 13 deals. I did 13 quick flips that year. Right when I said this has got to change. 13 quick flips, no rehabs, quick flips. I put anywhere from $20,000 to $30,000 on every transaction in my bank account. I made $300,000 that year. I wrote my letter of resignation, and I never looked back. That was 20 years ago. And so that's part of these strategies that I'm teaching. So it's not about buying. I don't teach my students how to buy. I teach them how to acquire properties. And acquiring properties is about two things: possession and control. Possession being you have the ability to come and go as you please, and control meaning you have the ability to do certain things that would allow you to generate revenue with different exit strategies. Now, possession and control, when you buy, in all cases that I know of, when you buy, you have possession and control. So whether you're going to a bank, you pay cash, whether you're getting seller finance, lease options, rent to own, you have possession and control. But when you're leasing, you don't necessarily have control. You might have possession, but you don't have control. Because as a tenant, as a residential tenant, you have the ability to come and go, but you got to use it just for your residence, and that's it. So that's why we use this lease. And if an owner decides that they want to use their own lease, all you have to do is do an amendment with this wording. And let me read it to you. It says this property will be used only as a private residential dwelling, as administrative office for yourself, who's the tenant, and space to temporarily host your professional out-of-town clients and guests. Right? And so that's what it says. Now, let me break down why it says what it says. It says a private residential dwelling. Now, we know why, because that's what it is, right? You want to make sure. But it also says you're also going to use it as administrative office space for yourself. Why did we say that? You're not going to have a desk in the building. You're not going to do that, right? But what you're going to have, you're going to be there a lot, right? You're going to be there, especially in the beginning, getting it set up. You're going to be there a lot. You're going to be meeting with your cleaners, in the beginning, who the guests, they pay for the cleaners. So you're going to be meeting with them in the beginning, showing them how things are going to be done, how you want it done. In some cases, when you start off, you just do the stuff yourself. That's how I did it. Me and my daughter, we did everything ourselves. I wanted to learn how it was done so that when I did hire someone to do it, I knew how to instruct them properly, right? So, but here's the other reason why you put that in there. It's because you don't want that owner to think that you got these people coming in from out of town and you're not going to be around, and they're just coming and going as they please, and then they're probably going to destroy their property. That's what they're going to be thinking. So you put that in there, and that gives them a good sense of comfort, right? And then the last thing is that it's going to be used as space to temporarily host the tenants, you who the tenant is, your professional out-of-town clients and guests. And there it is. That's the control that allows you, that's the language that allows you to do what? To generate revenue for this property, right? Now, if you notice in here, that wording is key, right? That wording is key, and a lot of you, a lot of people that watch this video, they just never got it. But if you notice, there's nothing in here that says anything about you renting. There's nothing in here that says anything about you having any tenants. There's nothing in here saying anything about you collecting any money, because all of those things are not true. You don't have any tenants, you don't collect any money, and you don't do any agreements, lease agreements, or tenant agreements when you're using the Airbnb model, right? They're your guests, just like if they were staying at your house, right? If they were coming into town, staying at your house, you host them as guests, and that's what you're doing in this case. You're not subletting, right? And you never, ever, ever want to give, you don't ever want to use that terminology, subletting, tenants, renting, none of that stuff, because that's going to give most people, most landlords, it's going to make them a little uncomfortable, right? And so a big part of all of this is not exactly all the time what you say, but a big part of it is what you don't say, and that's key. So that's pretty much how we do it, right? That's pretty much how we do it. We use a template, we send them out 10 of these a day, and we get the responses. We go out to meet them. We put the deals together. We send them the paperwork, and then within a week to a week and a half, you could have a deal locked up, right? If you're efficient at it. But within 2 to 3 weeks, you definitely should have a deal locked up. Now, the beauty of that is it's not just for this first deal. The beauty of it is once you've done the first one, think about how simple it's going to be to do the second. Now, think about it. But there's something else I need you to think about too. Remember when I showed you this property and I showed you that the one that's by the university, that it's generating for me $6,100. I pay $18. I keep about $4 in my pocket, right? And then I also showed you the other property that cost me. So that property cost me what? $3,600, right? I showed you. Cost me $3,600 for this property. And then the other one that I showed you cost me $1,950. So think about this. If I'm putting $4,000 in my pocket a month, and now it's time for me to pick up another property that's going to cost me anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000, $4,000 a month, where am I getting the money from? I don't have to go into my cash reserves. If I'm generating that kind of cash flow, positive cash flow, it's coming off of the properties. So when you think about how do you grow, right? You're not having to spend the money every time. They pay for themselves. So the first one, after you've got it up and running, you can go out and pick up a second one, and the first one's going to pay for the second one, right? And then you do it again. The second one is going to pay for the third one, and then the third one is going to pay for the fourth one. And now you're at a point where you got 2, 3, 4 of these cash flowing. And if you want to grow it faster, you can, because you got all this cash flow coming in. But if you don't, then you still just go at one or two properties a month, and you still have a bunch of excess cash flow coming into you. So just imagine if you could just pick up one of these that's only generating just $2,000 positive cash flow a month, just $2,000 a month. How much is that? It's $24,000 a year. In a month, another month, month and a half, 2 months, you pick up another one. How much is that? Another $24,000 a year. In 6 months, 6 to 7 months, you're going to get more efficient after you do it the first and second time, third time. Same way I grew to 20, 21 listings in 9 months. Same way, 21 listings. In 6, 8, 9 months, you could be up to 4, 5, 6 properties that's generating you $24,000 a year at minimum. That's over $100,000 a year. That's over $100,000. And guess where it came from? It came out of cash flow. You're not spending tens of thousands of dollars to do this. Now, I'm in Rochester, New York. So how do I get these things so cheap? Again, it's first month's rent and security deposit, right? That's it. So if my first month's rent, if my rent is $1,800 and I got to pay first month's rent and security deposit, that's $3,600. That's how I got it. The next one, if my rent is $975 and I have to pay first month's rent and security deposit, that's $1,950. That's how I got it. Now, if you're in areas where the rents are significantly higher for 3 or 4 bedroom houses, I'm not talking in the best of the best neighborhoods. I'm talking in decent neighborhoods. Definitely not in the worst, but in just decent neighborhoods. That's what you're going to pay. So if you're paying, rent for a 3-bedroom apartment or a 3-bedroom home that's $1,500, then it's going to cost you $3,000 to get in. Right? That's how it works. It's just that simple. And picking them up is so easy. You don't have to chase people. They're going to be chasing you. When you take that template model that I gave you and you just modify it to fit your profile. You just modify a thing to fit your profile. So my profile is exactly what this says. I'm a local businessman. I own some units here in Rochester, and that's what I do. Okay? So if this is something that you're interested in, it works. It's simple. As I told you, it's simple. And it's something that you can do. And it's also something, now I told you I'm a real estate investor, right? So the key is not just, there's other things that come off of this strategy. And it's not just Airbnb all the time. Let me give you a couple of examples. So this property here is a property, I told you it's one of my most recent properties. And I picked this one up a couple months ago, and it was from a local sheriff here in town. When I met him, and I picked up one of his properties about 6 months prior to doing this one. 6 months prior to him coming to me on this one. And he's been extremely excited about how well that's going. Remember when I told you when you go out and you meet these people, you're not going out. Remember I told you that when they're inviting you out to look at the places, you're not going out to lock up the place. You're going out to build rapport. And there's so much that comes off of that rapport. And here's one of the examples. He came to me and said, "Hey, Jim, I got another property that's coming up. And this property I just remodeled it. The lady's only been there less than a year. She's moving to Puerto Rico. And I don't really want to rent the thing out to anyone else because what you're doing is it's on autopilot. I don't have to think about anything. I don't have to do anything. There's no tenant drama. If you want it, you can have it. She's paying $1,300 a month, but I'll give it to you for under $1,000. I said, "Hey, send me some pictures. Let me take a peek." I knew I was probably going to take it anyway because he did a great job on the other property. I saw the pictures and I said, "Hey, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it." He was happy as a lark. Now, a month ago, he calls me back. We were talking and he says, "I don't know. I know I got multiple properties here locally. And, I'm thinking maybe either you could buy them from me." And I said, "I don't think you want me to buy them from you because, as an investor, you know what I'm going to offer, and I don't think you're looking to take a haircut. And he goes, yeah, you're right, but maybe we could work something out where we could do some of the same stuff on the rest of those properties. And I said, yeah, we definitely could. And so there you go. You got a bunch of properties that could end up in my lap, and then I probably won't even have to do a security deposit on those because he knows how well I take care of them. Right? Think about it. I have professional cleaners that come in now and take care of my places. So when they come in, they're coming in. These places are smelling good, looking good, being prepared for the next guest. And the beauty of that is the places look better than he's ever seen them. So he's loving life. I got my lawn guys cutting lawns. It's just beautiful. He loves it, right? And so that's one thing that comes off of this, just the relationships that you build and what comes off of those relationships, right? Here's another scenario I want to show you. And again, I mentioned to you, I'm an investor, so as an investor, I want to show you another property. This is a property that is one of my first Airbnbs that I did. And I didn't pick it up as an Airbnb initially. I mean, let me change that. I wasn't looking at it initially as an Airbnb. What I was looking at was I was in the market to buy some investment properties, and so I did a marketing campaign, and she contacted me. And when she contacted me, when we were talking over the phone, we still weren't exactly where I wanted to be on the numbers, but we were close enough that I said, you know what, I'll come out and take a look at the property and we can talk a little bit more. So I went out, we spoke, and we still couldn't come together on numbers. So before I closed up our meeting, I asked her, I said, would you be interested in possibly leasing the property to me? And she said, a lease, why? What would you do with it? And I said, well, I have professional guests that come in from out of town, and I like to host them. She goes, oh, like Airbnb? And I said, exactly, like Airbnb. And she goes, I said, that's exactly what we do. And she says, okay, well, let me think about it. Two days later, she calls me back and says, hey, Jim, is that offer still on the table? I said, why? What's going on? She said, well, I'm considering selling my property because I just got my doctorate degree and I have these opportunities throughout the country to go teach. Well, I just got a call from Atlanta and they want me out there by the end of the week to start my teaching job. And I said, wow. I said, great. She says, so how quickly could you put it together? And I said, well, I could come out tomorrow with the money and the paperwork. And in fact, when I get there, if you're really looking to leave, you don't have to worry about over the next few days, packing up everything. Just take what you want, take what you need. And she goes, really? So I said, yeah, definitely. So, but whatever you leave behind, if you're okay with us using it, that would be great. And whatever we don't use, we can store it in the garage. And whatever you don't want, and if we don't use it, we can discard it for you. She goes, man, that would be wonderful. And so within a couple of days, she was gone. And she left us a lot of stuff. She left us appliances. She left us furniture. She left us carpets and dishes and couches and sofas, and that flat screen is mine, artwork, and she left us beds and desks and plants, and so I hardly had to do anything on this Airbnb. These are my pillows. She left us beds. That was a bed. This was her furnished room, one of her the furnished room. She doesn't have any children, but it was a children's room. It looked pretty nice. She left us shower curtains. These are my linens and carpet. She left us, this is my bed. And all the beds, that's all my linen. So that's how we do it. All our beds look the same. So that was it. Like, it was just wonderful, all this stuff. And uh, she was so excited about how everything was going, was so smooth. So this is the place. She left us this on the back deck. It's pretty nice. So I after a few months, I reached out to her and I said, "Hey, how's it going out there in Atlanta?" She said, "Wonderful." I said, "Are you coming back?" She said, "Nope." And I said, "Well, how would you like to give me an option to purchase the property?" And she said, "Yeah, let's discuss that." And so what I did, as you know, I love to do the paperwork and make it easy for them. So I did the paperwork. I sent her an amendment to the lease. And the amendment said, it gave her a couple different choices, but there's an amendment to the lease, and it was for 98,497, and the other option, the other choice was 112. But based on everything we discussed, what her needs are, what mine were, win-win. What are your needs? What are my needs? It's a win-win scenario always. We settled on 98,497. I offered her. I did a purchase agreement with her, and I didn't have to come up with any more money because the security deposit, when I locked up the property, I gave her first month's rent $1,200, gave her security deposit $1,200, gave her a check for $2,400 total, and I locked up the property for with no more. I just took a credit from the security deposit, put it on this, and it didn't cost me any more. So 98,497 is what we did. Now, remember we talk about possession and control. I already had possession, I already had control enough to generate revenue from an Airbnb perspective. Now I got a different type of control with a different type of exit strategy. I got a property here that's worth more than I have an option for. So I considered it and I put it on the market and sold it for $128,000. I made a $30,000 gross profit off of this property. Only thing I did to it was I put a new garage door. I hired someone, paid them $500 to install, well, not someone, a company, just install the new garage door. And 4 days before we closed with the new purchaser, the family that bought it, we upgraded the furnace. We put a $5,000 90% efficiency furnace in there that would normally cost $5,000, and one of my contacts was able to do it for me for $1,600. So in total, I had the $2,400 up front, and I had about $2,100 with the garage and the furnace in. And I walked away from that closing with a net check in my pocket for $24,000. Right? That's what I did. And that doesn't even count the money that I made with Airbnb while I was there. So if you're an investor, if you're a beginner, or if you're a seasoned, the strategies that we teach to pick up properties and create win-win scenarios are strategies that cross over into not just Airbnb, but other things. When you can pick up properties, do options, do seller financing. There's a number of rent-to-own, lease options. There's a lot of other pieces that come with this when you do it right, or if I'm training you. But in any case, this is how it works. That's it. Like, all you need to focus on if you're here for just Airbnb is just this. Just modify this template. And in fact, if you want this template along with the contracts, just reach out to me, and I'll tell you how that works out. Okay, I'll get that stuff to you, and but that's it. It's real simple, and only thing I would just say is I'd say two things. Thanks for taking the time, but don't just listen to this. Go ahead and test it and see what happens. And when you start getting those responses, I want you to get back in touch with me and let me know that you're getting them, and I'll help you out. Okay? All right. God bless you.